Welcome to The Explainer. I'm so incredibly thrilled to have you here today. Have you ever looked at a kid's book and thought, wow, this is actually incredibly deep? Well, today we are unpacking something absolutely fascinating. We're looking at a core premise that honestly might just change how you view your entire childhood library. Here's the big idea. Children's literature and media are not just simple, fluffy entertainment. They are highly sophisticated tools, meticulously designed to shape cognitive development, all disguised beautifully as just a fun time. It is, quite literally, the Trojan Horse of children's media.
To get a solid handle on all this, we're going to move pretty quickly through a really cool toolkit of mechanisms today. First, we'll hit beyond the playground, then explore laughing to learn, check out the power of personification, look at empathy in action, and finally, wrap it all up with shaping the future.
So, I want you to think back for a second to the media you consumed growing up, or maybe the books and shows you're currently sharing with the kids in your life. Is it really just child's play? Or is there a hidden curriculum at work, secretly teaching us how to navigate, question, and sometimes even rebel against the world?
Okay, let's dive right in. To ground us, let's look at this brilliant observation from researcher Aisha Abdallah Abdulkader Eskar. She notes that humor functions as both a pedagogical tool and a critical device, an educational and subversive cultural form. We definitely aren't just talking about making kids giggle here. We are talking about profound and even subversive educational power. All right, Section 1, Beyond the Playground. Let's open up that Trojan horse and look at the academic machinery inside.
Because when we actually pop the hood on a good kid's book, it's wild. We find high-level academic theory secretly humming away. You've got Bakhtin's Carnavalesque, which is basically using laughter to totally flip adult authority on its head. Then there's Freire's critical pedagogy, teaching kids to actually question the rules instead of just blindly obeying them. We also see Vygotsky's scaffolding, which uses a joke to make a scary concept suddenly feel totally safe. And finally, cognitive flexibility, literally training young minds to hold two totally conflicting ideas at the exact same time. These frameworks secretly empower kids without them ever even realizing they're in a classroom. Which brings us to Section 2, Laughing to Learn, the subversive power of humor.
Remember that term we just mentioned, the carnavalesque? It's a literary mode that subverts and liberates assumptions through humor and chaos. Just think about Roald Dahl's Matilda. You have this tiny child protagonist reclaiming her agency from completely grotesque tyrannical adults. I mean, Miss Trunchbull is terrifying, right? But the crazy hyperbole and the dark comedy there isn't just for laughs. It actually instructs children on how to identify the misuse of authority and safely examine ethical concerns without getting traumatized. The laughter literally degrades the oppressor and liberates the child.
And just look at how brilliant this multimodal setup is in Diary of a Wimpy Kid. The text tells us one thing, Greg saying, "I believe it is time to begin performing kind acts," but the visuals completely bust him, showing him voting for himself out of pure narcissism. This deliberate, hilarious clash between the words and the pictures actually teaches kids metacognitive awareness. Basically, it's making them think about how they think. It forces the young reader to go, wait a minute, this narrator is completely unreliable, and they become the detective who has to find the actual truth.
We see a super similar technique in John Scieszka's The True Story of the Three Little Pigs. By reframing a classic fairy tale entirely from the wolf's point of view, it brilliantly uses parody and unreliable narration. I mean, the wolf claims he was literally just asking for a cup of sugar and happened to have a really bad sneezing cold. By challenging the traditional story we all know, it trains kids to evaluate alternative accounts. It acts as a total masterclass in media literacy, prompting young readers to ask, hey, whose story is this anyway? And how exactly does the media construct what we call truth?
And here is the kicker. This isn't just theory. Empirical research actually shows that humor enhances memory retention by a massive 15 to 20%. By making kids pay closer attention and attaching a lesson to a genuine laugh, funny media helps them absorb complex ideas way better than a dry, boring textbook ever could. Take that, pop quizzes, right?
Let's shift gears a bit for Section 3, Power of Personification, Simplifying the Abstract.
So personification, it's a literary device that attributes human characteristics like emotions, intentions, or physical actions to animals, objects, or abstract ideas. It is an absolutely foundational tool. It scaffolds a child's understanding of this massive, confusing world just by slapping a friendly, familiar human face on it. When you connect that definition to real-world benefits, the impact is huge. It enhances imagination and simplifies complex concepts.
Think about it for a second. Explaining the rotation of the Earth to get day and night is incredibly abstract. But telling a story about a sleepy sun going to bed, that makes it instantly tangible. Plus, it builds an emotional connection, promotes moral lessons, and fundamentally fosters deep empathy.
Just take a look at an owl character. By giving an animal human-like, expressive eyes and a friendly demeanor, we instantly build an emotional connection. Personifying animals lowers the barrier for children to explore complex and sometimes pretty intimidating social interactions. Why? Because it places those interactions just one step removed from their own immediate real-life reality.
Now, if you are a parent or an educator, here is a highly actionable methodology for crafting your own personified short stories to promote critical thinking. It's like a recipe. Step 1, choose a non-human element, maybe a tree, a cloud, or a clock. Step 2, assign it human traits and emotions. Step 3, develop a plot where they face some kind of challenge. And Step 4, organically incorporate a positive moral lesson. It is a proven, structured way to spark both curiosity and empathy.
Moving right along to Section 4, Empathy in Action, where we shift from just reading about empathy to actively practicing it through interactive media and social-emotional learning.
Beloved media, like Sesame Street, leverages these exact principles. By placing highly personified, recognizable characters in totally familiar scenarios, like playing together on a playground or skipping rope, they create a psychologically safe space. And in this space, children can observe and internalize pro-social values. They get to watch characters navigating fairness, teamwork, and kindness in real time.
Let's see how this builds into active literacy. Platforms like Write Reader deploy these very same characters. Familiar faces like Elmo, Big Bird, and importantly, Julia, the autistic Muppet. They use these images to scaffold vocabulary. A child can look at these characters interacting and be guided to write sentences like, "Kindness is including others." It perfectly bridges the visual empathy they feel for the characters with the actual cognitive task of language acquisition.
In the classroom, this interactive digital storytelling uses some really specific techniques. Educators prompt students to notice and name acts of kindness. They use I statements to personalize it, so moving from Elmo is kind to I can be kind. They use sentence frames like kindness is for early emergent writers. And crucially, there is an adult writing space where teachers add conventional spelling right under the child's phonetic attempts. It reinforces that everyday heroism while actively building their structural vocabulary.
But this empathy practice doesn't just live on a screen or a page. Educational platforms like Drama Notebook emphasize that putting on short plays with kids ages 3 to 8 takes these abstract moral concepts and turns them into kinetic teamwork. Active play, like physically acting out short scripts, forces successful performance and positive collaboration out there in the real physical world.
Finally, let's bring it all together in Section 5, Shaping the Future, the Ultimate Impact.
So the absolute crucial point is summarized beautifully right here. Humor in contemporary children's literature should be understood as a double-edged device, one that not only instructs but also liberates. From the carnivalesque chaos of Matilda to the metacognitive visual irony of Greg Heffley, all the way to the empathetic personification of Sesame Street, children's media is purposefully designed. It is not an accident. It's meticulously engineered to create autonomous, critical thinkers who are fully capable of questioning authority, identifying bias, and practicing radical empathy.
Which leaves us with this final, truly provocative thought. If children's literature is genuinely this sophisticated, literally training kids to spot unreliable narrators, question authority, and look past the surface, what can it teach us about the adult narratives, the news, and the media that we so frequently, and let's be honest, blindly accept? Perhaps we all need to read a little more like a child. Thank you so much for exploring this with me today. Keep questioning everything, and I highly encourage you to look at the very next children's book you see in a whole new light.